I learned a bit, and I know everyone else has also learned a bit, which is very good. And it seems to me that my part of being at the conference today is to give you not so much hard work, which is what many of the others have been doing. I'm going to have to ask you to shift a little bit to the head in for my particular presentation. Just to the left side of your brain, because we're going to be discussing scientific things and at the same time balancing them with the right side of spiritual aspects of our whole being. Okay? So as I said earlier, these books are channeled, and everyone can channel. It's not a special ability that anyone has. Everyone is in contact with what I call the universal consciousness, and so everyone is channeling right now. You may not be aware of it. If you'd like to develop it, which is what I have decided to do, then you'll probably be interested in the book as well. The first book starts out with the statement, basically, that consciousness is. This concept has been discussed in many different ways by the different presenters that we have. What it means is the all of consciousness is a non-form state, not even a state of being. It's just consciousness that is there, has no form, no color, no sense, no anything, no mathematics, no anything, but the potential of all and all mathematics, and all color, and all anything. So what the veil talks about is that from this form of all, in order to experience all, you must separate from the all, and immediately comes down. It is separation. It's a metaphorical veil, of course. Okay? You can call it cloud, you can call it mist, you can call it anything, but it's something we can't see that enables us to experience something other than the pure state of the all. And in this case, our veil dropped down, the human realm came into being. And that is every aspect of the human realm. One of the first manifestations of consciousness is your intuition. We're speaking on the spiritual side right now. Instincts. Things that come into your mind out of the blue. These are condensations coming out, separating from the consciousness that is, and becoming form. It's not a very solid form, okay? Intuition or thought, you can't touch it. But as soon as you have these intuitions or thoughts, you usually speak about them. And speech is a little bit heavier feeling than a thought is. And a thought also is a little bit heavier feeling than pure consciousness. Okay? And then, not only do we think it and speak it, but then we carry out the action according to whatever we have thought and spoken about. And that just drops us really down into this very heavy, dense world that is the physical side of our human realm. So all of these things have separated out of the consciousness, and they are simply different forms of the energy that is the pure consciousness that is, in ever condensed, more dense form. Okay? So the exciting thing about that on the scientific side is that in quantum physics, which is the physics of this very, very tiny, it's the subatomic world, for those who may not know. Things that are normal for us up here in the big world, they don't happen the same way down in this subatomic world all the time. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And the first experiment which revealed this to the quantum scientists was called the double slit experiment that was done back in the 1920s. Okay? And the result of this experiment was so wild that even the scientists doing the experiment were having a hard hard time believing that things were going the way that they were supposed to go according to the normal rules of physics that they were used to. So quantum being. So this double-slit experiment, I don't have time obviously now to explain the details of it. I do have it in the thing available. I've explained it. But the essence of it is that an electron, okay, a subatomic particle, the electron, I guess we're nodding, has the ability to, is aware of what is happening in its surroundings. It makes a decision on how it wants to react according to what it finds in its surroundings, and then it carries out that action, an electron. Okay? Now, those qualities, being aware, being able to decide how to act and carry out the action, those are conscious abilities. And even now, quantum scientists have a really difficult time saying that an electron has consciousness. But this is the information that I have been given in the chat, and that's simply what they call it. It is one of the forms of the consciousness that is. Okay? So what that means in our human realm, in almost all of the events have been saying this, is that your thoughts are consciousness. The speech, meaning the sound waves that are created by speech, are consciousness. And this podium, the microphone, whatever this woman has put in her mouth, all of that is consciousness, just in separate forms. And what that means is that consciousness is everywhere. Nothing exists without it being consciousness. And this is a fantastic concept, because when you think about it, you don't think that as Thunder and White Feather, we were talking about the crystals having their own life, and they come here to do something with responsibility. We don't normally think of inanimate objects as having consciousness, but they do. At every moment of their lives, they're making a decision on whether or not they're going to react in a way that we can actually see what they're doing, observe what they're doing, or whether they just go off doing their own thing. The difference between those two is that in the quantum way that they express it is that we, as the observer, make the electron do what we believe it is capable of doing. So when we're watching the experiment, it does what we expect it to do. Like with children out in the yard. If you're watching them, of course, they're not going to get up and entertain you. But when you're not watching, they do all sorts of things. And that's exactly what the electron does as well. It does things that mathematically, the scientists say, yes, it is possible. This mathematical calculation, that one and that one and that one, numerous mathematical calculations that they say do apply to this same event are possible, and probably what the electron is doing outside of our veil of consciousness. Okay, but when we are watching it, it does exactly what we think it should be doing. And that's actually pretty fantastic, and it's very interesting news. What that actually applies to, again, for us, is what every other professor has already said. Use your thoughts to create your own reality. Okay? We've got the total power because it is our consciousness that is being transmitted through, for instance, the Emoto experiment with water. He's just thinking a word, and the wavelength that is created, the wavelength, there's a wave frequency that is created by the thought, carries the intent, goes into the water, and changes the molecular structure of the water. And the importance of that, there's an area to it as well, is that our thoughts then, because our bodies are nearly 70% water, okay? Every thought we have is making us be a certain person, is changing us molecularly. So if you want to have a good life and a good body and feel great all the time, you really must calculate your thoughts in the right way. Okay? Everybody else has said the same thing, so I'm going to basically move right on. what I'm going to do is get right away to the next slide. There we go. Now, for a long time when I was a child, I grew up in a family that was not a scientific family, but definitely amateur scientists. Okay, we had all the books and everything. I wanted to be a scientist, but my brain was not really mathematically involved, and so I understood very quickly that wasn't my path, but I always was very interested in it. And in all the reading that I did, I always had trouble with two things. The first, both of them from Einstein. The first was that nothing could travel faster than the speed of light. I said to myself, well, why not? Because Einstein said so. Right, that's like when you go, well, what about God? Okay, meantime, God is the same thing as the consciousness. Okay, but everybody says, oh, you just have to accept it. That's the way it is. Well, I couldn't. My mind just kept turning on it and turning. Same thing with his most famous equation, E equals mc squared. I don't even try to understand the actual physics explanation of it. Again, my mind doesn't do that. However, I kept wondering, what on earth is he talking about? And I can't think so faster than the speed of light. And lo and behold, actually, even before the channings of the book, I wrote a paper, which is in the first book, but it was playing around with this question. What would it be like in a world faster than the speed of light? And so we do believe we got the paper and everything. But during this happening, what started happening is that I was getting scientific information and also spiritual interpretation of the scientific stuff. So very, very briefly, scientifically, historically, understand this one, it's really easier to understand the spiritual side of this equation. E stands for energy, meaning all energy at every time. M stands for mass, yes, that's all mass, and that means that this mass so far in the human realm has been identified as the neutrino, which only now 12 days ago has been revealed as having concerned speeds of faster than the speed of light. Okay? 12 days ago. So this tiny mass compared to all the other masses in the body is the mass we're talking about. C is the scientific symbol for the speed of light. And the speed of light has been calculated at 186,000 miles per second, about. That's about 300,000 kilometers per second. Okay, and then the little 2 means squares. Basic school board, mathematics. Squares means any number multiplied by itself. It's always applied to the number that's directly in front of the 2. Okay? So actually, when you look at this equation, Einstein was telling us that nothing does travel faster than the speed of light because we've got c squared. And that means 186,000 multiplied by 186,000, leaving us nearly 35 billion miles per second. Okay? In his own equation, both statements, this equation and the statement that nothing travels faster than the speed of light were presented to us in special relativity paper in 1905. They figured two completely opposite concepts. Okay? Now, I know that Einstein says that C stands for the constant speed of light, that it is never faster or slower. But I would like him to take that letter C and just call it consciousness instead of a constant speed. And let's take a look at what we're looking at. We've got energy, okay, of all kinds, equals mass, kind of like us, okay, in all of our worlds. And consciousness squared, okay? So that starts making a lot more sense. And in the book, what they are saying to me is that E doesn't actually stand for energy. Yes, energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, okay? It does. But only in the sense that energy equals consciousness. And then consciousness, enlightenment is the total state of the consciousness that is that I started out with at the very beginning. Enlightenment being the pure, non-formed state of all. Okay, so then the spiritual interpretation of this is going to be enlightenment equals mass times c of light squared, or times consciousness squared. Okay, this equation has been given to me as the scientific explanation for our transformation process. Okay? The transformation is going to be a mass transformation. I know you heard different concepts of this. Yes, transformation is happening right now on the individual scale, and it's growing on an exponential rate, meaning it's getting more and more people are becoming very interested in spiritual things and making a connection with it. And so, yes, it is happening right now. The information I've been given is that there's going to be a massive transformation when we start moving along as a light square. There's not going to be any pain in this transformation. Everybody's afraid of pain, and there's also going to be transformations happening right inside your own body right now. And there's no pain going on. You know, nothing is happening to you. Generally, very happy and not sick and things like that. So these are the same kind of energy transformation that these transformation is talking about, but it's just on a really much bigger scale. Okay? I hope that's a little clear. I'm going to go on to the next slide, actually, which is really fantastic. Oops. There we go. There we go. Back to the first one, because I was not expecting to be able to do a presentation. This is my presentation, but I want to talk to you about a lot more scientific concepts that go along with the spiritual one. We call the consciousness that is this formless state that permeates everything, because we just said that it is everywhere. Okay, now science says that dark energy is, and it's a theory, okay, so it's not proven because there's no way to detect pure consciousness. It's not a form. Okay? Dark energy, according to the scientists, is a mysterious form of energy that permeates the universe. Those are the two same concepts. Dark energy is the consciousness that is, that you cannot detect. There's no way that you're going to be able to find it. Okay? Now, once something separates out of the consciousness, it becomes detectable. The scientists do that with the electromagnetic spectrum. Okay? And when Maxwell discovered the electromagnetic spectrum, his way of describing it is that the electric waves and the magnetic waves arise into being. Okay, whether they arise or whether they separate and condense, it's basically coming out of a formless all into being. Okay? Now, dark matter is a small condensation from dark energy. And the scientists say that dark matter is able not to be detected directly, but they know that this matter is there because of the effect that it has on other things that are detectable by the entire electromagnetic spectrum. And so when we have an inkling or a thought, okay, or an imagination, we can't pick these things up, we can't carry them with us, but we know that they're there because of their effects that they have on us or on someone else. We have an inkling coming on with them, acting it out. Because dark matter and the inklings and the imagination and thought are the first compensation, each on their own side, and like this is empty, spiritual, out of the pure formless all, the permeating all. Okay? The scientists also say that the universe is expanding. Okay? And we have proof of this with the Hubble Space Telescope. Einstein actually did like that idea. He tried to contain the universe. Okay? He introduced into physics something called the cosmological constant. But very Very good. After that, Hubble showed that Einstein was wrong. And so he had to abandon his idea. He wanted to fix the universe, okay, and make it stable. But Hubble said, no, sorry, it's expanding. And so now, the universe is what we have underneath the veil. Okay, the whole entire realm of the humans right now is our universe. And we also say that human consciousness is expanding. So when the scientists say the universe is expanding, and we say the consciousness is expanding, I say, well, of course, because we're talking about the same thing. This universe does not exist without our human consciousness having separated and condensed or arisen, or whatever you want to say, out of the consciousness that is. And then the scientists go on to say, the scientists go on to say that there's a concept called cosmic acceleration. And what this is the ever-increasing rate of the expansion of the universe. Okay? In other words, it's the expansion itself that is expanding. Okay? And that's exactly what happens with human consciousness again. I'll talk to you, there's going to be 100 people in the room right now. We'll go home, we'll talk to 10 people, and they'll talk to 10 people. This is how consciousness expands on an exponential rate. So cosmic acceleration is another way of saying the expansion of human consciousness. And then the final rate is 476 to wrap it all up. I have been given an alternate theory for the Big Bang. Okay? Right now in science, there is two creations. The one that we all know is the Big Bang, okay, which is from an infinitesimally dense point in space and time, the universe was created according to science. Okay? But now we've got the quantum scientists saying nothing about Big Bang yet, okay? But they do say that everything collapses into being. So they don't really say out of what, okay? Some of them do. There's two that I know I talked about. Two of the scientists that I know have said out of the pure waiting potential consciousness, okay? Everything collapses into being. Another one says that there are movements of consciousness that collapse into being. Okay, so now this is the opposite of collapsing. Those are the creation bits. However, the second one, the quantum one, sounds a lot like all of the creation bits. Not a world where you've got a God that's big, where you've got us creating, where you've got whatever you believe in that is actually bringing creation into being. Okay, so I'm kind of talking with the quantum physics because of that. So, with that in mind, what I've been given as a Big Bang explanation is that as our consciousness rises and as it accelerates and goes to wow, we're going to get to a point where those who are already ready to go are going to be with this along very quickly. You won't even notice the instantaneous change, because that's pretty fast speed. Okay? Those that are still on the darker side, along that interconnected world, okay? They're starting to wake up, but in general, a lot of people that just don't want to know about it kind of stuff, okay? But those pressures, and the pressures of all the world that are really getting all this down, are eventually going to get so bad that even those people will transform like this global transforming diamond. Okay, there's a lot of talk about diamonds and crystals and everything like that. Another woman who's done some channeling that I know, she says our bodies will be crystallized. That sounds very much like what we're living in today from with thunder and white feathers. Okay? So, the Big Bang is not a beginning of everything. The Big Bang is an end of this current level of consciousness, where we are going to be blasted back into the pure state of the consciousness that is. And apparently, because it is a timeless time, there's no way to say how long we stay there. It's our own choice, whether it's an infant And we need to remember what the step is of million years our own choice, because time is not exists outside the human realm. Okay? And then, as we wish, we then reconnect or arise to be out of this consciousness state into the next level of consciousness or the next cycle of consciousness. So the Big Bang is not a beginning, it's an end, going back to the pure consciousness, and then the quantum collapse, we return and we begin again, learn the lessons of the next cycle of consciousness. Did you believe that's all I That was one of the girls, but then we are running out of time, so we have to shift up. May I now request